Okay, students, so a lot of you are asking how to complete this assignment. I'm going to show you real quick the basic steps necessary. First, you'll need to find your state assignment. So there's a list with all of your names under this tab that shows which assignment you've been given. So it has your name and it has the state. And then you'll go up to this tab, the state and country pairs, and it'll tell you which state is related to which country. Then you'll find this tab, and it has all of the basic setup that you need to start putting things in. So you'll pick your state. You'll find your state amongst all the states that are involved here. Okay, and I'm just going to pick one at random here. And I'll hit Control C, and that'll copy that whole column. So then I come over to the student state setup page, and I hit Control V. And what I've done is I've copied the state nominal GDP for every year. So let me also go down all the years. So I can click on a few of these cells, and by grabbing this little box here, I can drag it down, and that'll give me all the years that I need. Now I need to convert my state and GDP into real GDP over here. So I need to use the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, to figure out what the real GDP of the state's GDP in 1963 would be today. So I'm going to go to the CPI tab here, and I can copy the CPI for all the years. Again, I select them all, I hit Control C, and then I take it to this setup page and I hit Control V, and I've got it there. Now, I need to convert the state and GDP into real GDP, and I actually need to convert it into units because the data was given in millions. So I need to do a calculation. So I click in this box and I hit equals this number times a million times the conversion factor. So to convert it from 1963 dollars into 2019 dollars, so I'll hit an open parentheses and I'll put 2019 dollars in the numerator, and then in the denominator I'll put CPI for that year. I close the parentheses, and there you go. Now I like to see my numbers as numbers. So if I click on this box and hit Control 1, I can change it to a number. And I like to have comma separators so I can really read what it is I'm doing. So I hit OK. And lo and behold, $80 billion was this state's GDP in 1963 once converted into 2019 dollars. Now, if I look at this box, I'll notice that the equation is right up here. Now, for every single one of these, oops, I'm going to do that. For every single year, I would have to convert from that year's CPI into the 2019 CPI. But the 2019 CPI is this C59 term. It's going to be the same for all of them. So what I can do in Excel is I can put a little $ in front of the C and in front of the 59. I'm pretty sure I don't have to do it for both, but I do it for both just to make sure. And what happens then is if I drag this down, the equation here has C59 for that spot, but instead of C3 for this spot, it moves to C4. So I can drag this all the way down, and it'll convert all the years into real GDP for that year. Now what do I need to do? I need to add my country. So then I'll find my country, and I don't know what state I used, so then it doesn't really matter which country I use. So I'll just pick some country, and which country will I choose? I think I'll use this country just for kicks. All right. I'll plug this country's numbers in. By the way, I also want to change this to numbers that I can read, just for my sake. You don't have to do it this way. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I have this state and this country, and I didn't make sure that it was the right state-country pair, so these numbers probably won't make a lot of sense, although they do seem pretty similar here in the final periods. Now, the next thing you might ask yourself is, well, how do I make a graph with this? So here's how to make a graph. I go up to the Insert tab and go to the Charts and click on Scatter Plot. Well, there's no graph there yet. No, there's not. I have to select the data. So I right-click on the area where the graph is, and I hit this Select Data button. Then I'm going to create some series. The first series I'm going to create, I'm going to call the Real GDP State. And then I'm going to pick my X values, series X values. I want that to be the years. So I go all the way over here and I select the years, and that gives me the X values. And then I want the Y values, and for that I want to use the state real GDP numbers. So I select that value, those values, and I click it and I hit OK. And I hit OK again, and where's my graph? There it is. Okay, so there is the real GDP growth, or real GDP in real terms, right, for this state between 1960 and 2020. But I'd really like to have the country on that same graph. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to select data again, and I'm going to add another series. And I'm going to call this real GDP country. And I'll select the years again for the X values. And then I'll select the country's real GDP for those years for the Y values. And I'll hit OK, and OK. And there's my graph. Notice the country's real GDP has grown a lot since 1960. The state's has not. That's interesting to me. Now, other things you might want to do, you can make it bigger by dragging it. You can add a title, add chart element. There it is. Okay, so chart title, put it above the chart. Axis titles, primary horizontal, axis titles, primary vertical. So you can put this as, US or 2019 US dollars. And here you can say, year, so on and so forth. Then what you're going to need to do is, similarly, you're going to need to find the population for your state and your country and fill them in here. So you scroll over to population by state, and I'm just going to pick a different state. All right, Control C. All right, and then put it into the student setup sheet here. State, Control V. Okay, and then I'm going to do then you can do this for the country too. You find the population, and then what you're going to do is you're going to have to do real GDP per capita. Well, that is equal to the real GDP divided by the population. Right. And you can click that and then drag it down. Okay. And then you can make you're going to do that for the for the country as well. You can create a graph of just the populations. You can create a graph of the real GDP per capita. And again, you're going to want to make the years be the axis here. You're going to want to change the label of the graph so that it's talking about, well, for the population graph, you're going to say population. And then for the real GDP per capita, you'll say this will also be in dollars, but it's per capita. And then you'll take the natural log of it, and you do that by hitting equals ln, open parentheses, right, of real GDP, and close parentheses, and you get a number. And then you do the same thing. And then for real GDP per capita growth rate, that would be equal to, open parentheses, this year minus this year divided by the base year, enter. Now notice we can't do that for the first year because there's no, well, if this were the first year, because there would be no year before it. So you always need, so the first year we would be able to do that for, if I copy this and paste it here, it won't make any sense. But if I paste it here, I get a number. And that's the real GDP per capita growth rate. And that's about the changes in our quality of life. And you're going to create graphs for all these. You can cut and paste the graph. So you can copy the graph, and then if you were to open a Word document and bring in a Word document and hit Control V, it'll drop the graph right into your Word document. And what I'm expecting is about one paragraph of explanation for each graph, maybe an intro paragraph and a conclusions paragraph, and a map of each area, your state and your country as well. Okay, I think that's about it. That should explain how to do all this. If you continue to have questions, let me know. Thank you.